Feelings follow behavior. So you know, if you do the do, if you do the meditation, if you do the gratitude journaling, you feel better. Chapter 6, it's a longer chapter. Are you guys liking this book, by the way? I love this book. This is in top 5 books. Feelings follow behavior. When people come to a therapist for help, they are seeking to change the way they feel. This guy, I tell you. We know that, but have you ever thought about it that way? You're looking to change the way you feel. Whether they struggle with the pervasive sadness of depression or the debilitating constraints of anxiety, they want relief, a return to normalcy. Feelings follow behavior. Unwanted emotions are interfering with important areas of functioning in their lives. Unwanted emotions. I don't want these emotions. Are interfering with important areas of functioning in their lives. I often talk to Erica about this. I'm like, dude, it's all about emotional control. All your friends and family, you know what their problem is? She's like, what's their problem, Dr. V? I go, it's emotional control. They can't control their emotions, right? And you can't control these emotions, and it fucks up the functioning of their lives. I'm like, dude, that is a beautiful sentence. Often their ability to meet their responsibility at work and their enjoyment of those they love have been compromised. They suffer from serious deficits in their capacity for pleasure. Their lives have an unremitting seriousness. They have lost their capacity to laugh. So true. Many people know what is good for them, know what will make them feel better. They know it. Exercise, hobbies, time with those they care about. They do not avoid these things because of ignorance of their value, but because they are no longer, quote unquote, motivated to do them. I'm not motivated to do things I love, things I know are that are important. What the fuck's wrong with people? They are waiting until they feel better. And frequently, it's a long wait. I'll go see my grandmother once I feel better. Once I get over this, butt hurt. Once I feel motivated, I'll start my craft project. I'll clean up my craft room. A bunch of y'all have craft rooms. This is so good. They are waiting until they feel better. And frequently, it is a long wait. As much as we try, we do not control how we feel or what we think. That's interesting. As much as we try, we do not control how we feel or what we think. Efforts to do so are uniformly frustrating as we struggle against unwanted thoughts and emotions in ways that only exacerbate them. Fortunately, our lives have taught us that certain behaviors predictably bring us pleasure and satisfaction. See, this is where he's going. Right? This is where he's going. Fortunately, our lives have taught us that certain behaviors predictably bring us pleasure and satisfaction. So if we, like sex, right? If we do a certain behavior, we can predict that it will bring us pleasure and satisfaction. Hey, Dr. V and baby Milani here for a quick word for our sponsor, Resellers Program. Resellers is the quick, easy way for average people like you and me to make a free $750 a month without hosting parties or doing sales. It's not an MLM. There's no credit check to see if you can be approved for it. It's a free $750 a month. Check it out, www.ultimatemoneytree.com, or just text DRV to my friend Jerry at the number listed below. With this knowledge, we are given the opportunity to break the stalemate caused by inaction and its associated feelings of meaninglessness and despair. When people tell me that they feel helpless and unmotivated, I point out that they were able to get out of bed, dress themselves, and drive in to see me. Oh, wow. He calls them out on their bullshit, huh? Hey, you got out of bed to come see me. If they can do that, other actions that will make them feel better are obviously possible. Wow. Wow. I wish I had read this in med school. I wish I had read this book in med school. I wish I had read it during my psychiatry rotation. If they say correctly that doing things they do not feel like doing is difficult, I acknowledge this and ask if difficult means the same thing to them as impossible. Motherfucker! He just... that is so good. Is difficult the same thing as impossible? Wow. Talks amongst yourselves, by the way. I'm just going to keep reading. This is so good. Soon, we are talking about things like courage and determination. People seldom associate these virtues with psychotherapy. In fact, they are requirements for any substantial change in the way we live. To ask people to be brave is to expect them to think of their lives in a new way. Dude, to think of your lives in a new way. That's what it means to be brave. Write that down, somebody. Somebody write that down. To be brave means thinking of your life in a new way. I need to write that down for myself. But if I had to highlight this book, I would highlight every sentence, man. But any change, I would highlight every sentence. But any change requires that we try new things, risking always the possibility that we might fail. Another question I often ask patients is, what are you saving yourself for? Wow! That is a good question. What are you saving yourself for? In our efforts to be compassionate and helpful to those suffering from anxiety and depression and to destigmatize these conditions, we have equated them to physical illness requiring medication. It is true that the current crop of antidepressants have proven remarkably effective. The downside to the medical approach is that illness in this society is a responsibility relieving state. Remember, he said this in the previous chapter. Illness is a freedom from responsibility. The second we declare we are sick, we are no longer responsible. The ill are infantilized. Oh, poor baby, poor baby. Sometimes placed in hospital beds, told to take it easy and allow their medicine to work. The implication is that they have temporarily and through no fault of their own lost control of their lives and now have to assume a passive role and give themselves, with the aid of medical science, a chance to heal. Dude, this is Obesity 101. I'm telling y'all. I love y'all. Lean back. I love y'all. But I hear so much of this in the obesity world. Oh, Dr. V. I'll say, why did you gain weight? How did you become obese? Oh, I watched my mom die. I had to take care of my mom, and my mom and I were like best friends. Well, when did she die? Like 10 years ago. Like 10 years ago, you know? And you guys seeing this backlash from Ozempic now? Wegovy, Ozempic, all these medicines that like people are losing a ton of weight. It's causing serious GI issues. It's causing stomach apnea, which means the stomach stops squeezing, like gastroparesis. 1%, which sounds small, but when you have millions of people taking it, 1%, 1% of a million is 100,000 people. And now you're talking 10 million people. So that's 1 million people with non-functioning stomachs. That's a lot of people. It's like death from COVID. Like, dude, 1% death rate is a lot of people. While this process is going on, little is expected of them. Unfortunately, this approach can be counterproductive. Little is expected from the morbidly obese. I tell you that. I promise. They try, though. That doesn't mean you're not trying, It is easy to see how we got into this bind. In fact, it is clear that a predisposition to many emotional disorders does have a genetic basis. Alcoholism, for example, runs in families and produces catastrophic changes in our bodies that can kill us if we continue to drink. It is therefore, as the billboards would have it, a disease in the same sense that pneumonia and diabetes are diseases. If so, is it fair to expect those whose drinking is out of control to do anything about this? Or are they helpless in the face of their illness? Interesting. The successful treatment of alcoholism and other addictions has demonstrated that those who suffer from them are obligated to do something, namely to refuse to drink or use other substances in order to control their condition. That's an interesting point. I've never thought about that way. You are helpless against your disease of alcoholism or drug abuse, right? Or depression or whatever. But alcoholism requires that you do something. And that doing something is to not drink, to abstain. I never thought about that. Because I think about not drinking as not doing something. But no, it's an active thing. You choose to not drink. You do not drink. Wow. Namely, to refuse to drink or use other substances in order to control their condition. You have to choose to not snack, y'all. You have to do. Like, do not eat more than, 2 by 2 by 3, your finger, your gang sign, your palm of your hand. You do not snack at night. The most effective means to this end is through group support provided by AA or NA, organizations with the core belief that each addict has a responsibility to stop using that cannot be dodged, rationalized, or shifted to another person. You cannot shift the responsibility to another person. Like, why are you overweight? Oh, it's my mom. I hear this all the time. It's my husband. Why is it your husband? He's such a good cook. He cooks all my favorites. And I'll ask another lady, why are you obese? And she'll say, it's my husband. And I'm like, why is it your husband? He goes, well, he likes to eat out. We never cook at home. He doesn't know how to cook, so we eat out all the time. Like, what? Two different women blaming the same person, their husbands, and for the opposite reasons. You cannot shift to another person. Those who are living with a drinking alcoholic are frequently placed in a bind by the disease model. If their loved one suffers from an illness, how fair is it to insist on abstinence? The same goes for other emotional disorders. It is clear, for example, that people who suffer from debilitating mood swings that characterize bipolar disorder are suffering from an organic illness. We get it. Is it reasonable then to insist that they take the mood stabilizing medication, that is the treatment for this condition, or must we accept as inevitable the lapses in judgment that are one of the most prominent symptoms of the illness? What of those who suffer from a personality disorder characterized by maladaptive and well-ingrained patterns of behavior that cause people to be impulsive, dishonest, or emotionally labile, like overeating? Are these conditions also illnesses deserving of the indulgence we reserve for those who cannot help themselves? Are there a variety of behavioral problems that have at their core the same, there are a variety of behavioral problems that have at their core the same relief from responsibility that characterizes physical illness. Oddly, they tend to be known by their initials, MPD, BPD, ADD, and so on. The classic condition in this regard has been multiple personality disorder, MPD. Now, in the ever-migrating world of psychiatric diagnosis called DID, dissociative identity disorder, or the devil in disguise. This condition, popularized in movies like The Three Faces of Eve and Carrie, is characterized by the presence of two or more distinct personalities that alternately take control of a person's behavior. Multiple personality disorder, now thankfully less in vogue than it was several years ago. Less in vogue. It's true. Certainly continues to have adherents in spite of the fact that it is almost certainly a therapist-induced state in highly suggestible people. Wow. Wow. Owen Wilson. Oh, wow. Owen Wilson. I'll get his name right. Oh, wow. It's a therapist-induced state in highly suggestible people. I did not know that. Huh. As a reliever of responsibility, it has been promulgated as a legal defense and generally given the short shrift it deserves by juries whose common sense outweigh the experts dragged in to support it. A currently more common example of a diagnostic fad is adult attention deficit disorder, ADD. Disorganized, daydreaming procrastinators now have a medical explanation for the inattention and ineffective treatment, stimulation drugs. People uniformly report that their spirits are better and that they get more done when taking an amphetamine. Duh. To which I can only reply, me too. Of course you would get more done if you were taking a stimulant. Ooh, I feel like I'm getting sweats. It's cold inside my room, but I feel like I'm getting sweats. The point is, in an effort to destigmatize genuine mental illness, severe depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, we have created a plethora of diagnoses that are really just descriptions of certain patterns of behavior, y'all. Certain patterns of behavior. That some of these appear to respond to one sort of psychotropic drug or another just confirms our belief that they are diseases. For example, it has long been observed that women who are victims of spousal abuse are dependent people who have trouble separating themselves from their abuser. By labeling this battered wife syndrome, we imply that they lack a capacity to change their situation and should be held to a different standard of responsibility for their choices than other people. It is not hard to see the insult embedded in such an assumption. It implies the indulgence we extend to children and the physically disabled. Wow. Indeed, we have created a whole, almost done, last section, a whole system by which people can be certified by the government as emotionally disabled and eligible for welfare, just as if they were confined to a wheelchair. This is so true. I've met so many people on disability for these psychological illnesses. This makes sense for those suffering from true mental illness who are out of contact with reality or in the grip of uncontrollable swings in mood. When applied to people who abuse food, alcohol, or other substances, or who simply require medication to control their anxiety, the term disabled removes not only any sense of responsibility for overcoming one's problems, it damages irrevocably the self-respect that comes from the sense of being a free person on the earth, able to struggle with and overcome adversity. I have always said this. I have said this for the longest time. I hate it when people are on disability. They have handicap stickers. I'm like, why are you on disability? And they'll say like, oh, I don't want to join resellers, or I don't want to join HGH because I'm on disability. Why are you on disability? Depression, anxiety, whatever. I'm just like, what? But you're limited. So how much is your disability? $1,250 a month, $1,500 a month, whatever it is. I'm like, but then you're living off of $1,500 a month when you could be making $4,000 or $5,000. But I'm disabled. Like, he's totally right. The self-respect, he says, it damages irrevocably the self-respect that comes from the sense of being a free person on this earth, able to struggle with and overcome adversity. Man, like therapy dogs. What the fuck? Why is every dog a therapy dog? Because you're trying to save on a plane ticket? Like other forms of welfare, compensating people who feel helpless validates this emotion and ensures that it persists, while creating a powerful incentive to surrender one's autonomy and sense of competence. In other words, such a system undermines the self-esteem of those it purports to help and constitutes a self-fulfilling affirmation of dependency and hopelessness. Self-fulfilling, y'all. Helplessness. That is self-fulfilling. All you need to play this particular game is a note from your doctor and the patience to wait while a giant bureaucracy certifies you as disabled. Lawyers, needless to say, are available to speed up the process. It is our determination to overcome fear and discouragement that constitutes the only effective antidote to the sense of powerlessness over unwanted feelings. Some people are obviously more genetically predisposed to suffer these discomforts than others. While medication can provide crucial, sometimes life-saving relief, people also have an obligation to alter their behavior in ways that allow them to exert greater control over their lives. The role of victim is generally accompanied by a sense of shame and self-blame. Wow. The role of victim is generally accompanied by a sense of shame and self-blame. Remember, shame is the worst emotion you can feel. This is true of those victimized by huge social catastrophes like slavery, lean back, and the Holocaust, or by individual ordeals, crime, illness, etc. This is why there is a fine line between expressing empathy and solidarity for those who suffer and endorsing a passive dependency. You can empathize and you can have solidarity, anti-slavery, personal rights, LGBTQ, expressing empathy and solidarity versus endorsing a passive dependency. What a great chapter. Number 6, feelings follow behavior. Dude, you got up, you got dressed, and you drove here to see me. You woke up, you turned on this live. See what I'm saying? Oh, wow, I suddenly don't feel good. I feel empty. I feel like I need to eat. I'm going to grab a banana. Let's see if that helps. I brought 2 bananas. I ate one for lunch yesterday. I think bananas are delicious. Anyone who doesn't like bananas are crazy. Feelings follow behavior. Dr. V, I don't feel like writing in my journal. Well, then you need to write in your journal. I don't need I don't feel like writing in my motivation journal. I'm not motivated to write in my motivational journal. Then you need to write. I don't feel like meditating. Then you need to meditate. Because you know, if you meditate, comment, days that you meditate, you feel better. Days that you write your journal, you feel better. Yes or no? Have you ever woken up late? You're like, oh my God, I got to get to work, and you didn't meditate and you didn't write in your journal, and you felt worse, right? Your day was a little off. You were disorganized. You were always playing catch up. Feelings follow behavior. So you know, if you do the do-do, if you do the meditation, if you do the gratitude journaling, you feel better. You know it. Yet people don't do it. And then we say, oh, it's because I have ADHD. It's because I'm unorganized. It's because I never learned how. Because they're trying to shed responsibility. Because when you're sick, I have cancer. That's a really a good example. It's responsibility relieving. Cancer's a tricky one, because it's a battle, right? For sure. My dad died from colon cancer, and boy, man, he was a trooper the whole time. But like when a man gets a cold, the old joke about when a man gets a cold, he finally knows what it's like for a woman to give childbirth. It's responsibility relieving. I'm just going to crash on the couch for a couple of days. Don't bother me. Don't talk to me. And then you can extend that to anxiety, to stress, PTSD, mood. I just don't. And then one day it's just like, I just don't feel like it. I don't feel like doing it, you know? So feelings follow behavior. It's what we do. You are not what you think. You are not what you believe. You are what you do at the end of the day. Can I say I'm a world famous surgeon if I no longer do surgery? I used to be. I can say I'm an amazing dad. I can say I'm a motherfucking money manifester. Give me your money. Pay up. I can say, you know, I'm a love machine, right, Erica Romero? If you ever meet Erica Romero in person and then you meet me in person, you're like, dude, as my friend, one of my friends told me, he said, brother, you outkicked your coverage. If you know that football term. Outkicked your coverage. No way should a guy who looks like me get a girl who looks like Erica if that's all you based it on. Now, she'll tell you she thinks I'm very handsome, but I think she's just saying that to keep me around. But where was I going with that? Oh, behavior. You know, gotta be charming, gotta be funny, gotta buy dinners, expensive dinners. You gotta be kind. You gotta make her laugh. So all these other little things make up for my other physical shortcomings. You know? I'm not tall enough. I don't have the hot bod. That's okay. I got other qualities.